What is a VMware engineer? Shoot, what's VMware? And why should you even care? Because you definitely should. In this interview, we are answering those questions. I'm interviewing Chuck Keith. No, not me, my dad. My dad is a VMware Certified Systems Engineer. He's been doing it for a long time. He's VCP certified, knows a ton about VMware. In this interview, we cover VMware and how you can get started and why it's a great career path. Seriously. VMware engineers might be replacing network engineers with VMware NSX. We talk about that a little bit too. And speaking of jumping into VMware, or really anything in IT, I am giving away today, on day 10 of the giveaway, a year subscription to CBT Nuggets. Yes, today is the day. If you don't know what CBT Nuggets is, it is the gold standard in IT training. Anything you want to know in IT, it's taught on there. So specifically, we're talking about VMware today. VMware 6.5, 6.7, Keith Barker, Jacob Moran. We have everything you need to get your VMware certifications, as well as CCNA, Microsoft certs, Python, Linux, CompTIA, AWS, you name it, it's there. So whoever wins this, you have a whole world of opportunity open to you. We'll talk more about that in a bit. Keep watching until the end to find out how you can enter this contest. Anyways, let's get started with the interview. Dad, here you go.
Hey!
All right, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to NetworkChuck. Now, you may have seen this guy before in my data center video. This is my dad. We also share a name.
That's right.
This is Chuck Keith, and I'm Chuck Keith. So I guess we're both NetworkChuck.
I'm Virtual Chuck.
Well, actually, yeah, this is Virtual Chuck. This is kind of your debut, Virtual Chuck. Yeah. So I asked you guys, do you want to see anything about VMware? And VMware is big right now. I mean, you got VMware for network guys, the NSX stuff. I mean, that's big, right?
Huge. That is the future.
That's gonna put us out of a job. No, I'm just playing, but it might. So this is why I have him on here. So you're a VMware guy.
That is my forte.
What certification do you have to get into VMware?
Man, I've been in VMware now probably about 7 years. And I want to say my first cert was the VCP 4.
VCP. What does that stand for?
VMware Certified Professional.
Certified Professional. Now I remember when we were working together, what were you recertifying in? Which version of VCP was that?
I'm not 100% because I have my 4.5, I have my 5.5, I have my 6, and I have my 6.5.
Oh, so he's had every iteration. So I mean, you're like a VMware history book here.
Yeah, I mean VMware, you know, when they first started out, you got your VCP and you were certified, there was no expiration. Of course, like any popular cert, they added expiration to it. So every 2 years I'm forced to recertify.
So you never got in when it was like, you didn't have to recertify it?
Right.
Ah, bummer. I remember, what do you have to do to actually get, like, you have to like take a class they put on, don't you?
You have to take one of VMware's classes, but as long as you keep your certification current, you don't have to retake that test.
Oh, okay.
So you know, luckily hopefully your company will pay for it because it's a $5,000 class.
Ooh. So you can't just so with Cisco, we know that we can just study for it, schedule a test through Pearson, and then we're certified. You can't just do that with VCP.
You cannot.
So you have to do a VMware class, which costs upwards of $5,000. So yeah, being a VMware guy, if you're certified VCP, that's pretty stinking valuable. Oh my gosh. So you're a VMware guy, but you're not only a VMware guy, because you work for a company where you have well, sometimes the burden, but also the awesome privilege to do a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, you know, we're a smaller company with a lot of technology, so small teams, so we're forced to wear a lot of hats. So, you know, anywhere from, you know, the VMware, McAfee EPO for security, Active Directory, I mean, you name it. I mean, we support it.
I mean, you pretty much do everything but networking.
That's correct.
At the point. And with VMware's NSX, you might be doing networking too.
That's probably what I'm going to shoot for next.
Now I realize that if you're just getting started in IT or you're just getting your CCNA, you may have no idea what VMware is. So what is VMware?
VMware, I mean, it's actually, it allows you to virtualize physical equipment or physical operating systems. Yeah, that's hard to explain. I haven't been asked that in a long time.
Well, it's a whole big world, right? I mean,
yeah, it is. It just keeps growing. But I mean, you know, in the old days, you would have a data center, you know, with, you know, 100 servers. You know, now you can get that down to, you know, 15, 20 powerful servers and have, you know, all your virtual VMs running on those. So you can, you know, reduce your footprint. Just makes the data center a lot more efficient and a lot easier to run.
Which is, I mean,
and manage.
Well, yeah. So that's what's crazy is, you know, used to you'd see, I mean, you still see rows and rows of servers in a data center, but it used to be that every one of those little servers there was just one server, one operating system doing one thing. But now you look in there and one server could be running 20 different servers. It's crazy.
Right.
So I mean, you might already have, like I have a couple Dell servers in my environment, in my lab, and I have 4 or 5 what we call VMs or virtual machines that are something different. I have a Windows 10 thing, I've got GNS3 running on there, I've got Server 2012, Microsoft's product on there. You can just do a whole, and you can even install it on your computer right now if you want. You can install, what's the VMware's free option? Or it's not free,
it's not free, but it's a VM Workstation.
VM Workstation. So you can virtualize your laptop or desktop you have right now and install different operating systems and kind of cut up your stuff. Divide up the CPU, divide up the RAM.
So one of the tools I've used to get my certifications is, this is a shout out to VMUG, VMware User Group.
Okay.
But basically, you know, you pay $100 for the membership for a year. And there's a lot of free trials. Most of the, like VMware Workstation we were just talking about, you get a year subscription to it.
Yeah, I remember you talking about that. So it's kind of like, so it's not like DFW CUG, which is like the DFW Cisco Users Group.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, it's kind of like that, but you pay for that, VMUG.
Yeah, you can be a free member, but to get a hold of the software that they offer, you do pay like $100 a year.
So you weren't VCP certified when you first started playing with it.
Right.
So what was your first exposure to it?
First exposure was in probably 2011, and you know, just being a geek and researching what's out there and trying to make IT more efficient. Back then at Supreme Lending, I was the only system admin, so I was just trying to make things more efficient. We had a lot of older equipment, so it was a good time for a change, and that's when I started dabbling into virtualization, and man, I fell in love with it. The technology, I just love it.
And like virtualization, like, even though I'm not a VMware guy, I wouldn't classify myself as a VMware guy, and I'm not certified at all, but I use it all the time for my lab. I've used it to with Cisco stuff, with Cisco Call Manager, and really any of the Cisco products you use, like that with Cisco ICE, it's going to be running on a virtual machine.
That's right.
In fact, your routers are going to end up running on a virtual machine, like the CSR 1000V routers, virtual machine. It's kind of crazy how everything's becoming virtualized. So you started out in VMware.
Right.
At what point did you decide that you needed the certification?
You know, it was immediate. You know, I really hadn't attained a lot of certifications at that point. You know, I knew a lot, but I couldn't prove it. You know, and I always questioned myself. So I said, you know, with virtualization, I'm going to get certified. So that's when I started studying.
And I mean, that's been kind of your bread and butter. Like, that's your best certification you got right now.
Yeah, I mean, I look at all the new things that come out with VMware, and I just want to stay current.
I know they want to know, because we kind of explain what VMware is and the certification surrounding it, VCP. Now, is there a lower level certification you can start out with?
You know, I'll have to look and see, but there's actually, I think, 3 certifications now. They have a kind of an entry level, and then they have a, the VCP is the professional. I think they have an administrator, which is right under VCP. So that there's more options, and not just like mine's in data center, but they have workstation, they have networking, they have cloud now, automation.
That's so crazy. So he's VCP data center. They have different classes like the CCNA or the CCNP. That's insane.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, actually my next path is either going to the cloud and automation, networking, or I go for VCAP, which is the next cert up from the VCP, which is the advanced professional.
Ooh. Now I got to be honest. VMware scares me a little bit as a network engineer, because with their NSX stuff, basically the system guys, VMware guys, can do the job of a network engineer without needing a network engineer, which is a little bit scary.
You know, there's still a need for some network help, because honestly, on my test, where I struggle is on the network side. So,
so we complement each other.
Right.
I know I call him all the time when I need VMware help. Well, guys, it's that time again. Drop a BOMBal. Oh, I know it's already day 10. It's the last day we're doing this. Today, I am giving away 5 of David BOMBal's CCNA full course. It's an excellent course. The first 5 people to enter the hashtag I'm about to mention below will win this course. But what should the hashtag be today? The hashtag today will be NetworkChuck Coffee. Hashtag NetworkChuck Coffee. Go! Anyways, back to the video. I'm gonna ask you kind of a hard question because I know it's hard for me to answer it. What does a VMware guy do on a day-to-day basis? Now I know it's hard because you wear multiple hats. You're not only a VMware guy, you deal with Exchange and servers and all that kind of stuff, but VMware focus, what do you do on a daily basis?
You know, it all depends on how you set up your environment, and if you do it right, you know, you define your alarms in VMware, so you know VMware tells you when there's issues. But other than that, you just want to make sure you're taking care of your host, your hypervisor, which holds all your VMs. Make sure all the physical hardware is good. And then as far as the VMs, you got to watch the CPU and memory resources.
Because you can overload it, right?
Oh, absolutely.
You can put you can get crazy. You can take your home PC with 4 gigs of RAM and try to load it with stuff. That's not a lot. So you're gonna run out. I mean, so what's your? This is kind of interesting. What's your biggest host right now? How many? Like how much RAM? How many CPUs do you have?
My biggest host right now, we just upgraded some Cisco UCS servers.
Cisco UCS. That's another certification. So
it has 1 terabyte of RAM in it.
That's not the hard drive, that's the RAM. That blows my freaking mind.
Yeah.
What's the CPU like?
It's 2 cores, oh, I'm sorry, 2 sockets, and the cores, they're crazy. I want to say it's 32.
Oh my gosh.
Cores per socket.
And I mean, those are Cisco UCS, those are some bad boys. I mean,
these are beefy servers.
Oh my goodness.
And they're blades, and we just added 4.
So I mean, you're a manager, and you mainly deal with the higher level VMware stuff. As a guy who like just starts to learn VMware, and you're in charge of VMware environment, like what do you give your lower guys to do? What's a normal daily task they have to deal with?
Mainly it's just doing the monitoring. You know, I'm trying to get more and more out of the day-to-day, so you know, the daily monitoring. I have a list of pre-checks that I do when I come in the morning. You know, one, make sure there's no red alarms anywhere, make sure the hosts and everything and the VMs are running optimal, and if not, then you have to address it. You know, helping my guys grow in the VMware world is VMware Hands-On Labs. You go out to VMware's website, that you can almost touch any of their technology for free in a lab scenario. So it's incredible what they offer.
That's insane. Well, I know, like, I'm a big fan of VMware because it does cost money to run VMware, but if you just get like 1 server, it's called ESXi.
ESXi is the actual hypervisor that runs as the kernel for the virtualization. So
right. So for example, let's get simple terms. So if I have a desktop computer and I want to turn that into a VMware computer, how do I do that?
There's 2 ways you can do it. You can run a bare bone. What they call bare bones is when you install ESXi on the bare metal hardware, or if you install it on Windows, you can do that as well. So
the bare metal option is what I normally go for, but
which is the better option.
Yeah, because because if you go the other option, it's using up your operating system resources, and you're sharing that with ESXi or VMware Workstation. But if you go ESXi, basically you're installing ESXi as the operating system, which is Linux based, right? Is it Red Hat?
It's Red Hat.
Red Hat. So you're installing that as the operating system, and then you install another operating system on top of that, like within VMware. And you kind of deploy little virtual machines.
Yeah, and you can deploy ESXi and obtain a free license from VMware. You just, you lose some of the management features, but you get enough to do what you need to do.
Which is what I use right now. I mean, I've got 2 what they call hosts, and a host is like any 1 server that you have a bunch of VMs on. I got 2 in my lab right now. I got an ESXi license for free, and it's awesome. But if you want to start managing multiple and get big, like an enterprise environment like you have, what is it like?
vCenter is what you introduce into the environment, and that allows you to manage all your hosts and VMs under 1 single pane of glass.
Okay, so that's when you get kind of big world, like when you want to start actually administering. And I know some of the cooler features of VMware is that you can basically clone your virtual machines.
You can clone, and the disaster recovery piece of that is pretty nice, and VMware built in, and you start studying, you'll learn about that very quickly. But
one thing that always blew my mind was how you could just move a virtual machine between data centers.
Yeah.
what was it called, vMotion?
vMotion.
I mean, that's nuts to me. Like, oh, hey, we're gonna move your server today. How? Where? When? And do I have to go down? Oh, we're just gonna scoot it over the line, the VMware.
And you can do it while the server's on and running, and the users won't even know.
That's nuts. So you may already be sold, and I mean, for myself, if I had the time, I would be learning VMware. I mean, I freaking love it. It's amazing. I might actually end up doing that, but people are gonna wanna know, how did they get started, and what did you use, and what do you recommend?
You know, the first thing you want to do, I would start with planning for your certification. So you can actually go to VMware's site and you can download, say you're going for the latest version, which is 6.7, you can download the blueprint, which kind of gives you an outline of what you need to study.
And shameless plug, but we just released on CBT Nuggets 6.7 updates. So Keith Barker and Jacob Moran, they have a really killer course. What's cool, and I'm gonna plug CBT Nuggets. What's cool about CBT Nuggets is they have hands-on labs built into their nuggets. So you learn something and then you can bust into a lab and go through a lab right there in CBT Nuggets. So that's pretty cool.
I spent a lot of time with Keith Barker in the car, so I can vouch for that, for sure.
Hi, Keith. Much love from the Keith family. All right, guys, real quick, I wanted to interrupt and talk about today's giveaway. This is the biggest giveaway of the 10 days. It's a year subscription to CBT Nuggets. Now, what are you getting with that? Well, you get access to the most amazing instructors I've met all of them and they're amazing. I love CBT Nuggets. It's how I got my start in IT, and now I teach for them. So part of that year is you will get to watch my training. You get access to world-class training. There are a bunch of labs you'll have access to. They have labs on demand, so when you're learning VMware, you can get hands-on labs when you're learning Windows, SQL, Linux, all of these things. Oh, there's just so much value, seriously. And as part of this, whoever wins this subscription, I will personally keep in touch with you. Kind of like a mentorship. I'll be checking your progress, seeing how you're liking it, and if you want me to, I can hold you accountable. I don't have to, but if you want that motivation, if you want that help, I'm offering that as well. And also, if you're up for it, I might feature you in a few videos talking about what you think about CBT Nuggets, how you're using it to train, your training habits. I think that would be amazing. That'd be so fun. So that is the prize today, the giveaway. So enter the contest below. The link is below. It ends tomorrow. You got 24 hours to enter. Share this out to people. This will change somebody's life. Seriously, it will. And thank you so much to CBT Nuggets for offering this up. The value is insane. Insane. Anyways, back to the video. Now, what do you do for a lab? Because every good IT guy's got to have a pretty good lab with whatever you're studying.
What I try to do is just duplicate what I would think a production environment would look like. I would end up having, a couple of workstations with memory, a little beefy, and then I would build enough to where I could do some high availability, things like that, just to go through the blueprint and test things. Kind of do my own internal tests. But remember also, if you go to VMware hands-on labs, you can do everything you can for free as well.
Without breaking anything.
Right.
So what would you think is a prerequisite to getting into VMware? What would you say, what base knowledge do you need to have?
I think you need to have some basic server knowledge. Dealing with RAM and CPU resources, things like that, because it's going to be the same thing in the virtual world. It's just you're going to have to pay more attention to it because you have a lot more flexibility in the virtual world. So
would you recommend like Microsoft cert, like basic server-based cert, or would you like say that A+ is good enough? Or?
Well, that's hard to say because to me, the more certs you have, the better it is for your career. But Microsoft, give them a plug. Definitely their MCSA or MCSE, which is even better. To me, that certification combined with the VCP would be an incredible.
Unstoppable. Oh yeah, for sure. So now I'm gonna flip it on you a little bit here because you are an IT manager. You manage people, you hire people, you deal with their schedules and everything. When you are looking for someone to come in and work for you and they're gonna work on VMware, what are you looking for on their resume and in terms of experience? Honestly, I look for certifications. I've seen it where people put a lot of things on their resumes that they can't back up. So, but the key thing is I see the certifications, and I'll usually start with a phone interview and ask them some basic questions. And if they pass that, then I bring them in for a formal. But I'm going to give them some good in-depth VMware questions because
they need to pick up the slack in my environment. So
yeah, because I mean, if they suck, that's gonna make you look bad.
that's right. That's right.
So I mean, you have a job where you wear multiple hats. VMware specific, what type of job title would you have? Because you have had a job where you just dealt with VMware, and that's it. What was your job title?
I had a short stint, and it was really, there was a team, so we were a Wintel team. My specialization on the team was virtualization, but my title was the same as everybody else.
Just like what, server admin or something?
Yeah, it was Wintel admin.
Oh, okay, cool.
So,
when you're like me, you've been in places where you were searching for jobs and applying for jobs. What is a job title that you would apply for? Would it be just like VMware engineer, virtual engineer?
you know, there's not. I mean, some of the larger companies you're going to see that title, but most of the companies and most of where I've seen when I'm looking is system administration, and you know, system admin or system engineer. And that can, you know, include VMware or just ADE. You just look what they're looking for in the description. But system admin seems to be the most popular for me.
Oh, interesting. So I guess, yeah, the title is probably going to be all encompassing, and you just got to look at the description and see if they're looking for VMware people. Because you can have, you know, job titles that says system engineer, and it could be all Linux, it could be all Windows.
That is correct.
So it's just a mixed bag. Well, anyways, Dad, that was pretty much it. Thank you so much for being on my channel.
Absolutely.
I know people want to hear about this. This is a career path that I think is amazing. If I would go for it, honestly. If VMware is getting more and more popular, especially in the networking space, and it's always been big, but it's only getting bigger now.
That's right.
Especially like you can run VMware in the cloud. I mean, I know VMware and AWS and Google Cloud all have a very close relationship, and it's all going virtual.
It can be motion from on-prem to the cloud.
Yeah, it's nuts. Well, anyways, if you have any questions for the VMware engineer, leave them below, and I will try to forward any of the actual good ones. So don't just ask dumb questions. I'm just playing. There are dumb questions though, and I'll see if I can get those answered. And that's about it. I'll catch you guys later, and maybe we'll have him back on. Let me know below.
Thanks, guys.